Good evening and welcome to Students Dominate Math. My name is Mr. Hendricks and I am your math tutor for 1/2 hour. I want you to call into the number 312-738-1060. Do not hesitate. I want you to call that number and I will do the best that I can to answer the math questions that you have. The math classes that I feel most comfortable with range from algebra to calculus. I don't feel as comfortable working with the statistics, but if you have a statistics question, I can do the best I can to answer whatever questions you have. But this is a live call-in interactive show brought to you through the facilities of CAN TV. So we want you to call in. The show works best when you call in. You have a question about the test that you're taking, the final exam you have coming up, or the question about math that you'd always wondered about. And I'll do the best that I can to clarify anything it's a challenge to you. In the meantime, if you don't call in, I always bring a topic. I bring a topic with me that we can work on together and talk about. But before we get started, I'm in a real good mood today. And by the way, this is a show where we try to talk about my employer, Providence St. Mel. And we just had an open house. If you're looking for a good school, we are the self-proclaimed hard work school. I work hard. My students work hard. Everybody on staff works hard. Everybody. If there's one thing that I would say Providence St. Mel teaches the students, it's you have to work hard. Now, you work smart, there's no denying that, but as a young person and coming up in the year 2016, you're going to need to work hard. And we attempt to communicate that to the students. Oftentimes, the students, they come back and they say, wow, college is not that bad. And I believe the reason why they believe that. Now, I'm not saying they're not challenged, but oftentimes the alumni from St. Mel, they triumph over the challenge. And I believe it's because we teach the children to work hard. Just today, I've got 2 stories. Just today, my seniors who are in my advanced placement calculus class, they came to class upset. They were experiencing challenges with this being their senior year, keeping up in their coursework, applying for colleges. It got to be a challenge for them. And, we talked about it. And after we talked about it, and we, just shared some words of advice, and the students picked up from that point, from a challenged situation where they were upset and frustrated. They finished that class strong. We had a very, very, very good, productive day. Again, this idea of having high standards for the young people. Having very high standards for the young people. These young people are going to dominate the first and second semester AP exam. Complete collective domination. But they experienced a challenge. And they're going to triumph over that challenge. And now, when they go to the university of wherever they end up, they will have experienced a challenge in an environment where everybody, oh man, I'm there to support my students. So we want them to experience a challenge when they're young, so that when they're young adults and they're not on their own, but they don't have the same support that they might have as a 17, 18-year-old high school student. They may not have that in college. So we want them to be prepared not only academically but socially. I believe we do that at St. Mel. Those are my more advanced students. And then I'm just leaving. I'm just coming from Providence St. Mel. I've got some students who they got to work hard for whatever they do. They're challenged. We have it's called an AIM program. And the teachers, we set aside some time to work with them on some basic things. They got to work hard too. Everybody at Providence St. Mel works hard. Everybody at Providence St. Mel works hard. Now, some people have a problem with that. Some people have a problem with that. We don't try to overload the students. We don't try to give them more than what they can handle. We try to set them up to be successful while working very hard. So, I don't know. I just had a good day today. I wanted to share that with you. We want the students to dominate. We want the students to perform at a very, 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 very high level. And in my view, from my perspective, that requires hard work. So we work together with the students, with the parents, in an attempt to set the students up to perform at a high, high level. No achievement gaps. No achievement gaps. No games that are played with the students' futures. We don't believe in that. So I don't want to ramble on. I just had a real good day. Wanted to share it with you. If you have any questions about Providence St. Mel, you call the number 312-738-1060. We'll do the best we can to share with you. I've been there for 15 years now, so I've seen a little bit. All right, so last week, I'm just going to talk about the topic that I want to discuss. Last week, we talked about money. When you talk about money, you get phone calls. You're going to have to look at CAN TV to look at last week's video. We talked about money, and we talked about if you have a certain amount of money, how much, if you deposit a certain amount of money, let's say $2,000, and you leave the money in the bank for, let's say, 5 years, how much money would you have after that 5 years? We talked about that. We did that kind of problem. You have to look online, CAN TV, and look at that video. And then we talked about a similar kind of problem where what if you want $3,000 in 5 years? What if you desire $3,000 for that big-time television set? You want that $3,000 television set. Well, how much money would you have to put in now in order to have interest grow, interest increase your account? How much money would you have to put in now in order that you would have $3,000, $5,000, 5 years down the road? All right, so that's a different kind of problem. And that's what we did 2 weeks ago. Last week was Thanksgiving, but 2 weeks ago, that's what we did. Let's use the same equation to solve different kinds of problems that we'll just go ahead and do right now. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. All right. So we got this problem. Where, let's see here. Having some challenges with the focus. Let's try it one more time. All righty. All right. So let's say we got this problem where we want $3,000 for the television set. All right, we want $3,000 for this new television set, and we have $2,000 right now. Okay, and let's say we go to the bank and the bank says, "Hey, I'll give you the ability to deposit your $2,000 into the bank at 5%, a 5% interest rate compounded quarterly." And let's say you want to figure out, if I have $2,000 and I want $3,000, how much time would I have to leave my money in the bank for it to grow from 2,000 to 3,000? This is a relevant problem. So you want to leave this money in the bank, have it grow in interest to $3,000. How long would you have to leave that money in the bank for it to go from $2,000 to $3,000? Let's figure that out using the same equation that we used 2 weeks ago. That equation being P, the principal, times 1 plus R over N raised to the NT power. All right. So a lot of this equation is given material. So the balance, which is the variable A, that's 3,000. All right. The principal, that is 2,000. That's 2,000. Then you have 1 plus the interest rate, all right, which we said was 5%. Last week we told you that 5% had to be written as a decimal. All right. That 5% had to be written as a decimal. All right. So now what we're going to do is put that over N. N is the frequency at which your money is compounding each year. And in this case, if it's compounded quarterly, it's being compounded 4 times a year, raised to the NT. So we have 4T. Here the unknown is in that exponent there. All right, so let's solve for T. Let's solve for T. All right. So now we're going to solve for T by isolating this exponent here. We end up with 3,000 is equal to 2,000 times 1 plus, let's put that 0.05 divided by 4 into the calculator. All right, so I don't know if you can see that. All right, so we got 0.05 divided by 4, and we end up, you might not be able to see that, but the calculator says 0.0125 raised to the 4t power. This simplified is 3,000 is equal to 2,000 times 1.0125, and that's raised to the 4t power. All right, so one of the things that we teach our students is to solve for an equation where the unknown, that which you're trying to solve for is in the exponent. You'll need to use something called a logarithm. All right, you need to use something called a logarithm. All right, so what we're going to do is isolate this exponential part of our equation, all right, so that it's in the form a raised to the y power is equal to x. All right, so we're going to isolate that exponential part. This a to the y power is equal to something. All right, and we're going to convert that into something called a logarithm. All right, so you can rewrite this statement as log base A of x is equal to y. So this exponential equation can be rewritten as a log. So what we're going to have to do is get this equation here to look like this equation here. Once we get our problem to look like this exponential equation, we can solve for this unknown exponent by turning it into a log equation. All right, so let's try to get this equation to look like this exponential equation there. We can do that by dividing both sides by 2,000. Divide both sides by 2,000 and you end up with 1.5 is equal to 1.0125 raised to the 4t power. So now you have a to the y is x. We have a to the y is x. We have an equation that looks very, very similar to this form right here. Now that you have an equation where you have this unknown y, one of the main ways to solve for this unknown variable in the exponent is to rewrite it as a log statement. All right, that's what we're going to do right here. You have a to the y is x, a to the y is x. You rewrite that log base a of this number is going to be equal to that exponent. All right, so let's do that. We're going to rewrite this to be log base 1.0125 of 1.5 is equal to the 4t. All right, so I rewrote this form into logarithmic form. Now what we're going to do is solve for log base 1.0125 of 1.5 by rewriting this to be log of 1.5 divided by the log of 1.0125. That's going to be equal to 4t. Let's put this in the calculator. Let's put this in the calculator. All right, let's put that in the calculator. We have the log of 1.5. Log of 1.5. That is 0.176. This is 0.176. And here we have the log of 1.0125, and that is 0.005, let's say 4. All right, that's equal to 4t. Sorry about that. And let's divide that out. You end up with 32.6. 32.6 is equal to 4t. You divide by 4. Divide by 4. And you're left with t is equal to 8.2. T is equal to 8.2. All right, so our original problem was you have $3,000. Actually, you want $3,000. You only have $2,000. You find a financial institution that will allow you to deposit the money into the bank at 5% compounded quarterly. And the question is, how much time would you leave the money in the bank for it to grow from 2,000 to 3,000? And we came up with the answer of 8.2 years. Now, that's a long time. That's a long time. You may not want to wait 8 years to leave your money in the bank. So you might want to come with some more money. You might want to come up with more money, let's say $2,500, and then that way you wouldn't have to wait as much time for your money to grow to $3,000. All right, the last 2 weeks ago we did problems. There was no need for a log at all. we never mentioned anything about a log or exponential equation or anything like that. The unique difference between this problem and the problems we did last week, the difference about this problem was this idea that the unknown, that which we're trying to solve for, was in the exponent. All right, when you experience that, it becomes a different kind of problem, even though we use the same equation that we did 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, on one problem, I gave you the principal. I gave you everything except the balance, and we were able to find the balance. We also did another problem 2 weeks ago where I gave you everything except the principal. I gave you everything except the principal. So it turned out that it was a much easier problem. You have to check the videos that we did 2 weeks ago to see exactly what I'm talking about. So now this is actually the third kind of problem. And this is what I did with my students. We use the same formula in 3-4 different ways. I just gave them different information requiring them to solve for different variables. Same equation with actually 4 different kind of problems. We've only done 3 so far. Next week we'll do the final kind of problem with this equation. So, time is almost up. We want to encourage the teachers out there. We've encouraged the students. Now let's encourage the teachers out there. In my opinion, this is just my opinion, you're going to be judged not so much by your best students. Your best students are the most motivated. Those are the ones who want to learn. Those are the ones who are going to ask the questions. A lot of times you're going to be judged by the quality of your instruction by that student who needs the motivation, that student who needs the most help, that student who really doesn't want to do the work. How you work with that student is going to determine the quality of your instruction. That's where you earn your money. That's where you earn your money with that student who really don't want to hear what you have to say. And I'm happy today because I experienced that today. Hey, you got to work real hard to get that student who really don't want to hear what you got to say to hear and learn. And it's beautiful when they hear you and they learn. It's beautiful. And we only got another minute. My experience has been, you listen to what I'm saying. My experience has been those students who are motivated and they want to get it are watching how you address that student who don't want to get it. They're watching and they respond based on how you treated that child who doesn't understand, that child who doesn't get it, that child who struggles. They are watching you and they're going to respond based on how you treated that student who is struggling. God bless you. Thank you for watching. We don't have any more time. Tune in next Thursday, 5:30. And remember, all students can and will dominate math. Have a good evening.